The word on the front of that energy bar wrapper is doing more work than you realize. It is in a friendly, earthy font. It is printed over an image of oats or almonds or berries or a mountain range. It says natural. And because it says natural, you assume that the bar inside the wrapper is, in some meaningful sense, actually natural. Perhaps you assume that means the ingredients are simple. Perhaps you assume it means there are no artificial additives. Perhaps you assume it means the product has met some kind of regulatory standard that verifies the naturalness claim. Here is what almost nobody tells you. The word natural, as it appears on a food package in the United States, has no binding legal definition. The FDA has repeatedly declined to issue formal rules governing its use. There is no certification process. There is no audit. There is no enforcement mechanism. A company can print the word natural on a wrapper containing isolated soy protein, processed sugar alcohols, vegetable glycerin, synthetic vitamin blends, and natural flavor compounds manufactured in chemistry labs, and the labeling is entirely legal. That is the quiet truth of the energy bar aisle. And tonight, I am going to walk you through exactly what is actually inside the bars, marketed as natural, which ingredients to watch for, and how to find bars that are worthy of the word. Over the last 5 months, I have examined the ingredient panels on more than 70 energy and nutrition bars sold in major American grocery chains, natural food markets, and online retailers. I pulled the FDA's published guidance on the use of the word natural in food labeling, which explicitly notes that the agency has not established a formal definition and has instead relied on informal policy dating back several decades. I reviewed the USDA's organic certification standards, which are significantly more rigorous than the natural claim, and which require third-party certification. I examined peer-reviewed research in journals such as the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition and the Journal of Nutrition regarding protein isolates, sugar alcohols, and processed sweeteners in nutrition bar formulations. I pulled data from the Clean Label Project's 2024 testing of energy bars for heavy metals and environmental contaminants, which flagged several popular brands for elevated levels of certain compounds. I consulted a food formulator who has worked on energy bar product development for both large mainstream brands and smaller natural food labels, and who agreed to speak candidly about the common reformulation shortcuts in the category. The reason this matters right now, in 2026, is that the energy bar category has grown into a multi-billion-dollar segment of American retail, with consumers increasingly using these bars as meal replacements, pre-workout fuel, afternoon snacks, and lunchbox staples for children. The cumulative dietary impact of eating 1 or 2 bars a day is substantial, and research indicates that the ingredients in many bars marketed as natural bear little resemblance to the whole foods those bars are marketed to resemble. Let me start with the ingredient category that most commonly betrays the naturalness claim. That category is the sweetener blend. Pick up an energy bar marketed as natural and read the ingredient list carefully. You will often find a combination of sweeteners that includes brown rice syrup, tapioca syrup, cane syrup, agave nectar, invert sugar, evaporated cane juice, and added natural flavors. This combination of sweeteners is a technique called sweetener stacking, where multiple sweeteners are used together so that no single sugar appears high on the ingredient list. If a bar used 15 grams of sugar all from one source, sugar would likely be the first or second ingredient. By splitting the 15 grams across 4 different sweeteners, each individual sweetener drops lower in the ingredient order, and the front of the package can claim that sugar is not a major ingredient. The bar still contains 15 grams of sugar. The consumer just cannot see it as easily. This practice is widespread, it is fully legal, and it is specifically designed to obscure the actual sugar content of products marketed as healthy. The second ingredient category to watch is the protein source. Many energy bars marketed as natural contain soy protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, or pea protein isolate as their primary protein source. These are not whole foods. They are highly processed protein fractions that have been separated from their original food matrix through a series of chemical and mechanical processes. While the protein itself is nutritionally available, the isolated form does not come with the co-nutrients that whole food protein sources provide, and studies suggest that whole food protein may support different metabolic responses than isolated protein. A bar marketed as natural that derives most of its protein from soy protein, Isolate is, technically, delivering protein, but it is not delivering the kind of whole food nutrition that the marketing imagery implies. The third category is sugar alcohols, which appear in bars marketed as low sugar or keto-friendly natural bars. Ingredients like erythritol, maltitol, xylitol, and sorbitol are used to create sweetness without triggering the same blood sugar response as conventional sugars. While these ingredients are generally recognized as safe, they can cause significant digestive distress in sensitive individuals, and recent peer-reviewed research has raised questions about the cardiovascular implications of long-term erythritol consumption specifically. These ingredients are not, by any intuitive definition, natural. The fourth category is the natural flavors line, which appears on the ingredient panel of the vast majority of energy bars marketed as natural. Under FDA Rule 21 CFR 101.22, the phrase natural flavors can legally encompass a wide range of flavor compounds, many of which are produced through chemical or biotechnological processes, as long as the originating source is a plant or animal material. The specific compounds within a natural flavor blend are not required to be disclosed on the label, which means a consumer has no way to know what is actually in that ingredient. The fifth category is the vitamin and mineral fortification package, which in many energy bars consists of synthetic vitamins added to allow the bar to make various nutrition content claims on the front of the package. Bars marketed as containing B vitamins, vitamin D, calcium, or iron are often getting those nutrients from isolated synthetic sources rather than from whole food ingredients. Again, this is not dangerous, but it is a long way from what a consumer might imagine when they see the word natural on the wrapper. A rapid-fire tour of the specific warning signs in an energy bar ingredient list. Ingredient lists longer than 15 items. 2 or more isolated protein sources used together to boost the protein grams without using expensive whole food proteins. The phrase natural flavors appearing more than once in a single ingredient list. The presence of chicory root fiber, or inulin as a fiber source, which is a processed isolated fiber that allows the bar to make high fiber claims but can cause significant digestive distress in sensitive individuals. The presence of palm oil or palm kernel oil, which is often used as the binding fat in bars and which carries its own sustainability concerns beyond the nutritional ones. The presence of sugar alcohols stacked with conventional sweeteners, which creates a complicated sweetness profile that is hard for consumers to evaluate. The presence of lecithin, which is technically a natural compound, but which is often sourced from industrial soy processing. And the presence of any ingredient you would not recognize as food if you saw it on a shelf at a farmer's market. Now let me shift into what genuine natural energy bars look like, and how to identify them. The first test is the ingredient list length. A genuine natural energy bar typically contains 5 to 10 ingredients, each of which is a recognizable whole food. Dates, almonds, oats, cashews, honey, peanut butter, dried cranberries, chia seeds. That is the kind of ingredient list that earns the word natural. The second test is the absence of isolated proteins. A genuine natural bar derives its protein from whole foods like nuts, seeds, nut butters, and whole grains, rather than from soy protein isolate or whey protein concentrate. The third test is the single sweetener rule. A genuine natural bar typically uses one sweetener, often honey, maple syrup, or dates, rather than stacking multiple sweeteners to obscure sugar content. The fourth test is the absence of natural flavors. A genuine natural bar derives its flavor from the whole foods in the recipe, not from added flavor compounds, meaning the phrase natural flavors does not appear on the ingredient list at all. The fifth test is the certification. Look for USDA organic certification, non-GMO project verification, or independent third-party certifications that go beyond the unregulated word natural. I want to take you into a specific category of deception that deserves its own deep dive. That category is the protein bar marketed as a health food that is, in reality, a candy bar with added protein powder. Walk into any grocery store and look at the protein bar section. Many of the bars on display have macronutrient profiles that look virtuous. 20 grams of protein, low sugar, high fiber, reasonable calorie count. On the surface, these numbers suggest a nutritionally optimized product. But when you read the ingredient list, you discover that the protein comes from soy protein isolate or whey protein concentrate. The low sugar is achieved through sugar alcohols like maltitol or erythritol. The high fiber comes from isolated soluble corn fiber or chicory root inulin, and the chocolate coating and caramel layers contain the same palm oil, corn syrup solids, and artificial flavors you would find in a candy bar. You are essentially eating a candy bar that has been engineered to have favorable nutritional marketing claims, not a genuine whole food snack. The key term to recognize here is the phrase net carbs, which appears on many of these bars and is marketed as a measure of the carbohydrates that actually affect blood sugar. Net carbs is not a regulated term. Manufacturers calculate it by subtracting fiber and sugar alcohols from total carbohydrates, based on the assumption that these ingredients do not significantly impact blood sugar. For many individuals, this assumption is reasonably accurate. For others, particularly those with sensitive digestive systems or specific metabolic conditions, the assumption is not reliable, and the actual impact of the bar on blood sugar and digestive function can be significantly different from what the net carbs number suggests. The FDA does not require net carbs to be disclosed, and the calculation method varies between manufacturers, which means a bar from one brand claiming 2 net carbs may be chemically different from a bar from another brand claiming 2 net carbs. Let me walk you through a specific story from my investigation. A 38-year-old mother of 2 named Rebecca, who asked me to use only her first name, wrote to me after seeing my preliminary reporting on this topic. She had been eating 2 energy bars a day for nearly 3 years, marketed as natural and wholesome, and she had been experiencing persistent digestive symptoms that her doctor had been unable to explain. She eliminated the bars from her diet for 30 days as an experiment, and her symptoms resolved. She reintroduced the bars, and her symptoms returned. She traced the cause to the chicory root inulin used as the fiber source in her chosen brand, which is a known trigger for fermentable oligosaccharide sensitivity in certain individuals. The bar was labeled natural. The inulin was technically a natural ingredient, but the concentrated dose of isolated fiber was not something her digestive system could process comfortably. Rebecca's story is not unusual. Studies suggest that isolated fibers, when consumed in concentrated doses through engineered foods, can produce digestive effects that the same fibers in whole foods would not. I want to take you into the chocolate coating specifically, because the chocolate on most energy bars is a quietly telling ingredient. Real chocolate is made from cacao beans, cocoa butter, and sugar, with milk added for milk chocolate. The ingredient list for real chocolate is short: cocoa mass, cocoa butter, sugar, milk powder, vanilla. That is essentially it. The chocolate coating on most energy bars is not real chocolate. It is a chocolate-flavored coating, typically made from cocoa powder, palm oil or palm kernel oil, sugar or sugar alcohols, and milk solids with emulsifiers and stabilizers added for texture. The coating is engineered to look and taste like chocolate, while remaining stable at the temperatures encountered in warehouse storage and transport. It is also significantly cheaper than real chocolate. Every bar that uses a chocolate-flavored coating rather than real chocolate is cutting a cost corner that a consumer might not notice at first glance, but that represents a real difference in the quality of the product. A rapid tour of the specific buzzwords and phrases that should trigger extra scrutiny in the bar aisle: protein-packed, superfood, clean energy, real fruit, whole grain goodness, all natural, no artificial ingredients, naturally sweetened, plant-based, ancient grains. Each of these phrases is marketing language, not a regulated term, and each of them can be applied to products that contain many of the industrial ingredients I have described in this investigation. The word natural does not mean simple. The phrase real fruit may mean that a small amount of fruit puree has been added to a product that is otherwise engineered ingredients. The phrase ancient grains may mean that a trace amount of amaranth or quinoa has been included in a bar whose primary base is processed oat flour and corn fiber. Do not trust the buzzwords. Trust the ingredient list. I want to highlight a quiet pattern I noticed across multiple popular energy bar brands. Many of these brands publicly emphasize their commitment to clean ingredients on their websites and in their marketing, And many of them do, in fact, produce products with genuinely clean ingredient profiles. But within the same brand, different product lines can have dramatically different ingredient standards. The flagship product of a given brand may be made from dates, nuts, and sea salt with an exemplary short ingredient list. A different product from the same brand, such as a protein bar variant or a chocolate-coated version, may contain 15 additional ingredients, including protein isolates, sugar alcohols, and chocolate-flavored coatings. The brand reputation built on the flagship product creates a halo effect that makes consumers assume the entire product line meets the same standard. It does not. Read every specific product's label individually, even within brands you trust. The same brand name on the wrapper is not a guarantee of the same ingredient standards. Let me share one more observation about the bar category in general. The energy bar is, at its heart, a convenience product. It is designed to be eaten quickly, without preparation, in situations where whole food is not available or practical. This convenience comes with a cost, and that cost is that the product has been engineered for shelf stability, portability, and consistent texture in ways that whole foods are not. A bar that lasts 6 months in a drawer is, by definition, a product that has been formulated to resist the natural processes of spoilage, stalling, and separation that affect real food. The additives that make this possible are the same. Additives that distance the bar from whole food nutrition. This is not to say that energy bars should be eliminated from anyone's diet, but rather that they should be understood for what they are. They are convenience products with specific trade-offs, not replacements for whole food meals. The best use case for an energy bar is as an occasional emergency snack when whole food is genuinely unavailable, not as a daily staple that substitutes for breakfast or lunch. Let me give you the practical shopping discipline to take into the bar aisle this week. First, flip every bar over and read the ingredient list before you look at the front. The front is marketing, the back is law. Second, look at the first 5 ingredients. If any of those ingredients are not recognizable as whole foods, the IWAS bar does not meet the traditional definition of natural, regardless of what the wrapper says. Third, count the total number of ingredients. 5 to 10 is a good range for a genuine natural bar. Anything above 15 is almost certainly an industrial product. Fourth, scrutinize the protein claim. If a bar advertises high protein, and the protein comes from soy protein isolate or similar, that protein has been industrially processed, and the bar is not a whole food product. Fifth, look at the sugar content per serving, including the grams of added sugar that are now required to be disclosed separately under the 2020 FDA label update. Aim for bars with less than 8 grams of added sugar per serving if you are using them regularly. Sixth, consider making your own energy bars. A food processor, a cup of dates, a cup of nuts, a tablespoon of nut butter, and a pinch of salt produce a bar that is indistinguishable from a premium natural product at a fraction of the cost. Seventh, diversify your snack options so that no single bar is doing the nutritional work of a meal. Bars are convenient, but they are not a substitute for whole foods, and the best way to eat a genuine natural diet is to reduce your reliance on packaged products in general. Here is where I want to end tonight. The word natural on a food package is one of the most exploited pieces of real estate in American marketing. It evokes sunlight, fields, orchards, hand-picked ingredients, grandmothers in farmhouse kitchens. It evokes everything that the industrial food system is not, and it has become a powerful tool for selling products that are, in fact, manufactured from highly processed ingredients using sophisticated industrial techniques. You are not being unreasonable for having trusted that word. You are not being naive for having assumed it meant something. You were, in fact, exactly the consumer the marketing was designed to reach. But now you know. And knowing is the beginning of everything that comes next. Walk into the bar aisle this weekend with a slightly different set of eyes. Read the back, not the front. Trust the ingredient list, not the imagery. Look for the genuine articles hiding on the shelves, the bars with 5 ingredients and honest recipes, and no marketing sleight of hand. They are there. They are worth finding. And once you have tasted the difference, the synthetic version will never again taste right to you. That is the goal. That is your challenge this week. Go find the bars that are actually what they say they are, and let your taste buds teach the rest of your family the difference.